Welcome.
All right, cool. We are live. What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? Hey, we are just a few minutes late. We do apologize because we were in the back room hanging out with three lovely ladies tonight who are going to drop it. I mean, they was ready to go in behind the scenes. We didn't even get a chance to come on live yet. And they was ready. We had to pause and be like, hold up, we ain't even go live yet. We ain't even hit the button. But we have three wonderful, talented, articulate women tonight who have been through relationships enough to know how to talk about this topic tonight, and that is red flags. We all know that there are red flags that we experience in a relationship sometimes when it's too late, and we're trying to figure out how to adjust and what to do if now love has become part of our red flag situation. Tonight, we want the ladies to talk about what are some universal red flags. Because last week, the men talked about what we thought were red flags that we exhibited as men. Now, we want to know from the ladies tonight what are some red flags you have experienced, your friends have experienced, that may be universal, not to just you, but to many other women. Which red flags are often overlooked? Which red flags are often avoided? And then which red flags do you often compromise? And what I mean by compromise is, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. You know that I'm not going to get 100 really want. So that whole 80-20, rule, which is not Steve Harvey's, it's a principle, right? Which would suggest that I never get 100% of a thing, and so I'm lucky if I get 80. So I should let the 20 slide. And I'm wondering which of which of the 20% should be compromised, if any, right? So tonight we have Brenda Stevens. Brenda is, I can see her near the bottom. Brenda, wave your hand. I want everyone to see you. Great to have you on the show. Thank you for your time tonight. Kimberly McMorris, who is the top next to me. Kimberly, great to have you on the show all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. And then Candace Walker right there in the center. Candace is in Maryland. So we've got one Maryland, one Georgia. Brenda, where are you at?
Maryland.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
currently up, but I'm from Maryland.
Oh, but where are you living now?
Maryland.
Oh, you live in okay.
I'm visiting. Yes, I'm visiting Florida. Hmm.
Florida. Oh, okay. All right, cool. So we got the East Coast in the house. All right. Well, the fellas is here. Reggie, Murph, Fred. You, you know how we do this. We back at it again. Another exciting show. This whole series has been exciting. The series is entitled "Am I Worthy of Her Submission?" There is a Bible verse that we created the series from. It was Fred's idea. Thank you, Fred, for thinking about this. But the scripture is in Ephesians about wives should submit themselves to their husbands as to the Lord. And we know that that was a scripture written in the Old Testament before women were bosses. Now women are bosses. You're owning stuff. CEOs, running companies, own your own jets, flying when you want to fly. Right. So my thing is this Old Testament scripture, is it applicable still? That's part of it, but then also, Leah, let's start with that because I do want to know your take on it, ladies. Before we get into the main question tonight about the red flags, is this old mantra, this old scripture, those who are religious, non-religious, is this still applicable in 2021? Um, let's start with you, Brenda, and then work our way up, Candace, and then let's end with you, Kimberly.
Well, yes, I do believe this scripture is still applicable today. It's in the New Testament. It is a call to wives and husbands to have a very loving relationship with each other. And I think that submitting to a husband that you really love and respect and honor is easy. It's harder when definitely you have some problems in the relationship and it is hard to respect him. It is hard to submit to him. But the next sentence after that says, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. A man like that, you can submit to.
Absolutely.
Yes.
on mute. Didn't realize on mute. Thanks for the correction, Brenda. You're right. A New Testament between Philippians and Colossians. So no, not Old Testament, New Testament. Philippians, Ephesians, Colossians, and I can't remember the ones that come after. But thank you for the correction. Candace, your thoughts on this verse as it applies to 2021?
So here's the thing, because women are bosses, we have our own money, we are flying our own private jets, buying our own homes, have our own vehicles, it still applies because the man is still the man. He's the head of the household. That is separate. That's what you do. That's not who you are. So the man should still lead. And as Brenda said, as long as the man is still loving you and giving himself to you, it does make it easier to submit to him. And for me, if you're married to this man, you already submit to him. Why would you marry a person you're not going to submit to? So you're standing in front of God, the family, and submitting to this man. So if you're not going to submit to him, do not marry him.
Well, that's powerful. We haven't heard that yet, fellas. We haven't heard the comment yet that if you going to marry him, then then submit. If why marry him and submit? That's a wow. That's powerful. We ain't heard it yet. I'm over here stumped.
Sorry.
That was good. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Candace. Your thoughts, Kimberly, when it refers to this verse in the New Testament, wives, submit yourself to your husband. Is it applicable?
Ooh. I'm actually glad that you let me go last, especially after her answer, because and like I said, now I'm actually on my second marriage, and with the first marriage, I can honestly say, we did we did marriage counseling, we did everything, and I was perfectly positioned and willing to submit to him, absolutely, wholeheartedly, because it was what I wanted. So I took my time before I got married. I didn't actually get married for the first time until I was 40. So I was patiently waiting on the Lord to bless me. But however, even though we started out that way, which you're going to get to some of those red flags, whenever things changed and whenever I could no longer trust him, with us, and trust him to be the head of our household and entrust him to lead us down the right path, then unfortunately that whole submission became, a problem. But however, in my second marriage, because this time I knew exactly what I wanted, I knew exactly what I did not want. And with this husband, because he does love me the way that he loves the church, and we have the exact same value system. And so I have absolutely no problem whatsoever submitting to him, none whatsoever. And then the area that most women get tripped up on is that there is a difference between being submissive and between being subordinate. Because my ex-husband, he wanted me to be subordinate, and that was absolutely not an option. But this husband, I have absolutely no problem with being submissive unto him, because I trust him to be the head of our household, because within our value system, we are completely equally yoked in our value system. And most people take value system to be spiritual, but it's not just spiritual. It's our value system on a multitude of levels. Our value system in business, our value system in our finances, our value system in our families, our value system in our friends, our value system in our community structure. So it really is that can you really truly be equally yoked? And then are you equally yoked with the person that you are submitting yourself unto?
Yeah, you're getting into next week. Next week we're talking about unequally yoked. So you were already on it. I want our therapist for a minute, Murph, to chime in for a second. Brenda and Candace and Kimberly, thank you for setting that stage around this particular verse. I think it's so important, as you all mentioned, that the thought of marriage should also think about the idea of submission. And Kim, at some point in this conversation, I'd like the three of you to go in and talk more about what do you do when you're in it and then things begin to shift and change. I think a lot of women are grappling with, I knew to submit at the beginning, but now he's changed and he's evolved and he's become someone I don't know. I'm not quite sure what to do. But Murph, what I want you to do really quick is, can you just kind of share a definition that Kimberly just mentioned about subordinate and submissive? I think it's very strong, and we haven't heard that yet. And I want our audience to really hear the difference between being a subordinate and being a submissive.
Yeah, I think being a subordinate is when you're at work and someone's the boss over you. Being submissive is you choosing to trust this person with boundaries and support. So as a psychotherapist, right? Like I've seen some people who are in the S&M, right? And they've had very healthy relationships because the submissive knows that the dominant person is going to keep them healthy. There is trust there. There is a willingness to be as vulnerable as they can be with this person because there is mutual respect, belief, and values. So to be submissive to someone is still about power. You still have power when you're submissive because you are trusting in this other person to reciprocate what you believe is there. A subordinate, on the other hand, you work for me. I'm the boss. Shut up. Do what I tell you to do. You know what I'm saying? So there's a big difference. One you could be a jerk, and the other one you are highly responsible.
Yeah, I appreciate the definition, Murph. Okay, let's jump right into it, ladies. We'll start with you, Brenda. What are some universal red flags that women often overlook, avoid, or compromise? Feel free to use any of your own personal context if you feel comfortable, and don't feel the need to answer the whole question. Overlook, avoid, or compromise. Choose one if you want. We're curious tonight to know what you think some universal red flags are.
Well, ask myself also. And she talked about being honest, but the way that I put it is a red flag. It can be a white lies. They can tell big lies, but that is a red flag that they don't value and integrity. And you may not be. As one of our speakers said, you may not be on the same table in values when that comes up. And so if you are a person of faith and a belief, and that is going to start to crumble early. So when you see that, even if they're white lies, which I think for me, the red flag, not only him, but his mother. So you see that just passing down to the next generation, feeling comfortable or allowing yourself to be deceptive. And it may not be just an outward.
Thank you.
Kind of
This is not
little something, but that's
Yeah, there was some feedback from somewhere. Brenda, I'm sorry. I hope you didn't feel that you were cut off. You keep going if you were talking. I don't know where that feedback came from.
Oh no, I was good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that. The white lies. We often overlook the small things. And Brenda, what I hear you say tonight is, ladies, don't overlook the small things. The small things add up. And so
it sounds like. I'm sorry. It sounds like they're referring to the way we broached the subject last episode was pay attention to your mate's attitude toward the truth. You know, if they'll tell little lies, they'll tell big lies. If they'll bend the truth, and if there are a lot of gray areas as they approach the truth, then it's hard to trust somebody that you see lie constantly, bend the truth, or use and manipulate the truth to suit their own ends.
Yeah, good point. Candace, go ahead and jump in. Same question. Curious as to what universal red flags women often overlook, avoid, or compromise. And ladies, feel free. Like we didn't mention this earlier, but you don't have to agree with one another. It's okay. It's okay to disagree. If you disagree, we have a very safe space here, and oftentimes there are guests who disagree with things we say. And that's how we grow. because it's not about me trying to persuade you to think as I think. It's about me taking a step back and seeing your lens, because your lens is just as valuable as mine. So Candace, your thoughts on universal red flags that women often overlook?
I wish I had that power to myself to talk about some red flags. But here's one red flag that I kind of noticed. If the person you're with now, if they always talk about the last person they were with or everyone else before you, if they talk about them in a negative light and never accept responsibility for anything that was done in prior relationships, that should be a red flag. Because what that's showing is they're not willing to say, hey, I messed up in that relationship too. They're always willing to point the finger at the other person. And here's the thing, you're never most times going to speak to the other person to verify if that information is true or not. So some people tend to make themselves look like the angel, and they're really not. They're just telling you a story because you're never going to know the real them until you're in that situation and you get to know that person day in and day out. You know, I was in a situation like that not too long ago, and the person just kept talking about all the other ladies. And for me, when you're in it, you're thinking, oh man, he was really, you know, he'd been through some things and these women really treated him really bad. But in hindsight, I'm like, there was a reason why. You are the problem. You know, and sometimes we overlook that. And for me, just sitting back and paying attention to some of the things that was done, you know, the little things that you wouldn't do. Here's one thing that I noticed. He had a problem with Russell Wilson, Sierra's husband, the way he treated her firstborn with Future. He more wanted to take Future's side because Russell was this great father and little Future is calling him dad, but that's how he's treating him. But in hindsight, he felt that way because someone else was taking care of his son the way he should be taking care of that son.
Oh, wow.
You know, so you have to look. For me, people say I don't talk a lot, but I sit back and I pay attention and I listen very well. And I pick up in between the lines. Sometimes I may not observe right away, but after I sit back and think, then I'm like, okay, that was a red flag. That was a red flag. That was a red flag. Someone who speaks, you know, just saying what they want for the future, but I'm making any moves for the future. Another red flag was their work ethic. If someone is constantly losing a job and you get married to them, that means you're going to be the one who's going to be financially responsible because they cannot hold a job. You know, that person lost 2 jobs last year. The year before lost another few jobs. So it's like, but they're blaming other people, saying like their office wasn't together or whatever. But you have to pay attention to all these things. And then again, I didn't pay attention in that situation. But again, looking back, if they don't have a work ethic, it's going to carry on into your relationship, and eventually, if you marry that person, it's going to be the same thing.
Right.
You know,
Can I add something on that? I want to add something on that because you said a couple great things in there that I think all connect. You said when he hated on Russell Wilson for how he treated Future's little kid, when the little boy was calling him daddy, and everybody knows that you can be a male and you can be, but to be a daddy, it takes behaviors, right? And then when you said that he was hating on somebody, thank you very much. If he was hating on him for doing something positive, then you got to know that this person is a victim. But really what they're doing is running game. Mm-hmm. Everything is woe is me to pull you in to be K Michelle and be his mama. You know what I mean? See, please raise me. Please, so we can have this ancestral relationship that has a crazy boundary. Haters ain't the dude you want. Yeah. Sorry.
No. Reggie, jump in, and then Fred on the same comment.
Yeah, I would say that the first thing that you shared definitely stuck out to me about someone continuously talking about their exes, because what that makes me think about is that person isn't present in their current relationship. They're continuously going back to the past and bringing up people from the past. So how are you going to move forward? Like I've always remembered this, saying is like, if you're driving somewhere, it's hard to get there if you're looking in the rearview mirror. So if you're creating a future with somebody, but they're looking in the rearview mirror, and at their past experiences with other people, I mean, where are you two actually headed? So that's definitely a major red flag for sure.
But well, wait a minute. I got to say this again, Reg.
Now,
bruh. When they play the,
no, let Kimberly. Yeah, she's been smiling for a long time.
Let me say this really quick. Just really quick, right? Okay, so now, as you heard me say, right, I'm on my second marriage. So my first marriage, right, we got married in 6 months. Major mistake, right? But with this husband here, right, I said I didn't even want us to even talk about marriage until we had been dating for 2 years. But however, right, I encouraged him to talk about his previous relationships because I needed to have an understanding of what the situations were in his previous relationships, because I knew what I wanted. Because mind you, we had been dating for about 2 years. So I knew exactly what I wanted, like where I was laser focused on what I wanted this time. I had very specific details of what I wanted. And so I listened to him tell me about, what he didn't like in his previous relationships. I listened to him tell me about what he did like in his previous relationship. And even now, he's like, how do you know exactly what I want, exactly what I need, exactly, what I need? Because I listened to him. He literally told me exactly what to do and what not to do. Some people listen, but they don't listen to gain understanding. They don't listen to hear. So now that's just my perspective, but I mean, I'll turn it back over. But, now, like I said, I intently, would talk about his previous relationships because I needed to see, where the breakdown was. And then again, the things that he did take responsibility for. And then, with the things that again, it just went back to his value system and the things, that he didn't appreciate that they did. And then, right, where I just simply made sure that that it was something that I could relate to. So there you go. Go ahead, dear. I mean, so go ahead. I'm listening.
I saw the bubbles. It was like a volcano of smiles coming out. Something had to be said. The problem is not the willingness to talk about your relationship. The problem with men that becomes a red flag is that when every woman that they ever had a relationship was crazy, and they're the common denominator in every relationship. That's got to be a red flag. Not every woman is crazy. I have a friend like that, and it took me a while. I kind of sympathize because my friend was confiding in me. My male friend was confiding in me. These women are crazy. These women are crazy. These women are crazy. And I was like, yeah, that behavior is really crazy. But that was his perception. It took me a while to really realize that the common denominator was my friend. And all these women weren't crazy. He had a problem, and they were actually trying to get rid of it. So I get that. I understand it. I have a question for you guys after Eric offers his comment, but I want to know about some more insidious types of red flags, things that your own psychotraumas and baggage in your personal lives may prohibit you from seeing, and things that look good on the surface that could really fool you into thinking that they're positives, and in the end up being the path to destruction of your relationship. So, Brother Murph, go ahead on and say what you got to say, and we're going to.
Yes.
Hey, before Murph jumps in, let me just pause parenthetically. Good to see Reverend Dr. Staples tonight. So ladies, he's also part of our team, our cadre. These are the boys. He just happens to be suited and booted tonight, making us all look crazy. Normally, he's dressed more comfortably, but duty calls. Reverend Doctor is probably had to do some ministry work tonight. Doctor, you know where we're at tonight, man. We're talking about red flags related to this series. Am I worthy of her submission? Good to see you tonight. Murph, go ahead.
First of all, Dr. Staples, you fresh. I just want to tell you that you looking fresh, bro. But the other part to it is, I think that thank you, bro. My son just brought something in. I think one of the things that I think is very important is a part of the game that's being ran a lot of times is the comparison game. You got to know, if I'm talking to you about somebody else, I am intentionally trying to make you feel insecure about you. Even if I'm saying that person crazy, because now you're comparing yourself to crazy. If I say this person look good, all these things I'm doing is to pull you in to needing to validate yourself with me. I'm not like them. So it's a game. So even when you say that, you got to know it is subconsciously intentional to have power over you by even comparing themselves to other people at work. Like, those other guys get this and that. Oh, how long you worked? You was playing Mad last night. Did you work really? You was with your boy drinking Crown. Well, you know how they do, bro. How they do. And when you ask a more probing question, you realize that what you're dealing with is some bull crap. There we go. I got it. I got that under control. No profanity tonight.
Hey, so look, Candace made a great point, and I hope every woman who's listening tonight heard this. She says she listens intently, and I think it's so important to let him talk, because you need to listen for the red flags. But then I heard Kimberly follow up and say, but I also had to ask the right questions. So while you're listening intently, mentally you're already coming up with, let me ask this and let me ask that. And Kimberly, I'm glad that you mentioned that you dated him for 2 years. And no, this is that's not the algorithm for every relationship, but it just worked for you. But I know that in those 2 years, and I want you to answer this universal red flags question. I'm wondering, in that 2 years, were you able to ask the same question more than once to make sure you got the same response?
Absolutely. Now I'm okay. So now I did a couple of things, actually, even before I even got to that point. And then, some women make the mistake of not asking God for exactly what they want, because the devil was in the details. And when I say that the devil was in the details, whenever I got to a point where I was ready to be married, I literally wrote a 2-page paper front and back of exactly what I wanted. But there were some things that I didn't know to ask for, because you just don't know what you just don't know. So, and my first husband, he was literally exactly what I asked for. But so I took that exact same 2-page letter, because I kept it. And then this time, since I knew the things that I didn't, I knew a little bit more because I had experienced some things. I took that exact same 2-page letter, and then it became a 7-page letter of exactly what I wanted. And because now I knew exactly what to look for. And so whenever it comes to asking specific questions, I absolutely made sure that I specifically asked the questions, and then I asked them in different contexts. And whenever in different contexts, where it might have been the same question, but maybe paraphrased a different way, because, anybody can rehearse a lie over and over again. But then whenever you get to asking questions from a different perspective, then you can really get to the crux of what it is, that you're trying to get to. And so again, like, it can just be the fact that I was really very, very intentional about what I wanted. And I was really very focused on, I know that they say he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And so I'm not saying that I was specifically going after him, but I made sure that he was interested in me to the point, because since we had been friends for such a long period of time beforehand, I was very intentional and literally asking the same questions from a different perspective, not just with the first wife, but even with the second wife, because he had been married to the first wife for 7 years, and then he had been married to the second wife for 17 years. So again, I knew that he didn't have a problem with commitment, but I just simply needed to see, I needed to make sure that the main thing was the main thing. So I was very specific in the questions that I asked. So now I don't know if that answered the question, but
yeah, it did. So
I was very specific.
You got me on now this question piece, and I want the ladies to go back through. Brenda, starting with you, I want you to share a question that we're gonna play this little game. Brenda, I want you to share a question that you've asked a man. And fellas, Dr. Staples, Fred, Reggie, Murph, I want y'all to be honest. Have you ever been asked this question before? Because I'm wondering, ladies, if the questions that you're asking are universal questions. I want to know if I've even ever heard these questions before. So, starting with you, Brenda, what's a question that you would ask a man before getting serious to know if this is somebody that you would want to be with? What's one question?
Well, let me give you some background. So, I am divorced, single again. And this time, my questions are going to be definitely different than they were, 30 something ago, because, at that time I was in my 20s, I was looking for somebody different. And, this time really, one of the questions I would definitely ask the person is if they have any goals, any visions, any dreams for life. And it's still important at my age, I think, to have dreams and goals and visions and not think that those are all in your past. They should still be in your future so that you haven't come to a point where you've reached all and you're just kind of coasting. I'm not looking for like that. I'm looking still has goals. They're working on themselves. They're working to build a better world and still serve people. So I'm definitely looking for a go-getter kind of, not somebody settled in a rocking chair.
Okay, so I'll just start with I'll do this one by one. Reverend Doctor, have you ever been asked that question? Lamar Staples, tell me your 5-year plan. What is your goals, your visions, and your dreams? Curious to know if that's a question that you've ever heard before. Asked to you.
Asked to me. Well, yes. Yeah, it was asked to me, but they changed rapidly. I went had one particular area of vision, and then God switched it and changed me into something else that I never wanted. So my goals and my visions and my dreams, yes, I had all of those, but I was looking at it from a business perspective. And then from there, my wife asked me those questions. And then, it transitioned a couple of years in. And right when my daughter was born, my whole perspective, everything shifted and changed. And now I developed a new vision and a new dream, and new goals, because they were not the same. Keep in mind, I got married when I was 22, and I got 21 years in. So I got married when I was 22. I got married very young, and we're still in it now. And my things have changed, So I've been asked that question.
Your dreams and aspirations have changed, Reverend Doctor, but what I'm hearing is they never died.
Oh no, dreams never died. They change. They switch. Because when I was a kid, simple Bible stuff. When I was a kid, I thought as a kid. When I was a child, I thought as a child. But now that I am now an adult, things begin to shift around. Things begin to change when you have different vision and different aspect of life. Before I had my kids, I thought of selfish reasons. Now I have children, and my dreams and my visions aren't necessarily for me. My dreams and my visions and my goals is to make sure that they are better in life and they have a better perspective and a better entrance into adulthood than I did. So each stage it changes, each stage it grows, each stage it will matriculate into something bigger and better and greater. Especially if you have some sense of vision and in your life, it changes.
Yeah, that's good. I like that, Brenda. Are you a go-getter? Do you have goals, visions, and dreams? Thank you, Reverend Doctor. Candace, same question for you. What's one question you would ask? You're not married. Brenda's not married. Candace, you're not married. Kim, you're married. But Candace, what's one question you would ask on a date? Let's just say the first date, because you ain't wasting your time, right? What's one question you would ask on a first date?
Well, I don't want to particularly say first date, because sometimes some questions you may tend to ask a person may kind of deter them or chase them away because they may feel like that's your end goal. But I would go back to the previous relationship, just listening to him talk. He would always talk about his issues with child support. And some time passed, and I decided, okay, well, let me ask a question about how would, if we were to live together, how would we maintain the home, as far as paying bills? And the initial question was, oh, I'll take care of the larger bills, the mortgage, whatever. So I said, okay, I keep that in the back of my mind. So then a couple months passed, and I went back and asked the question again in a different way. I forget exactly what I said, but his answer changed. And it made me think the reason why his answer changed is because of his issues with child support. So he wanted to take from me to be able to handle his issues that he had going on. So that's something I would ask, how will we maintain the home? Because the initial question would be, oh, I'm the man, I will do this, I will do that. Not saying that's what I'm looking for, because, I too work, I have a really great job. But sometimes as women, we still want to know we will be taken care of if ever we need to be taken care of, as far as the whole back to the submissive thing again. But he changed his answer and was like, well, now either you can pay all of whatever, or we can split it down the middle. So you're going back because now you have these issues and you're trying to dig your way out of it by using someone else's income. So income is a question you really have to ask about.
Yeah. The income is important. And you said that you didn't want to ask on the first date. From a man's perspective, Reggie, I want to ask you this question that Candace posed. Is it a deterrent or a turnoff to ask some important questions like the one Candace just posed on a first date? Reggie, if you got that question on a first date, would you be turned off, or would you be like, oh, sis about her business, she knows exactly what she wants?
Speaking from my space where I was at back then when I was going on dates, or if we could even call them that, that probably would turn me off. That probably would just be too much. I could honestly say that that specifically wasn't a question that I was being asked on dates. It was about like handling finances and what's your opinion about how the household should be ran. The majority of the questions that I was getting was more so women trying to feel out our compatibility. Like, what do you like in your ideal woman? Like, what is she like? That was the majority of the questions. Asking about finances, asking about vision, asking about my personal standards, maybe even like that wasn't, questions that were asked that maybe needed to be asked. But they weren't being asked. So it's kind of very insightful to hear you guys asking these questions, and the ladies that are listening can now have some better questions to ask.
Absolutely, and I think that's our look at how the scripture had one thing about relationships, and now Reggie, I think you pose a different set of questions for women to be comfortable asking, right? I mean, Candace posed a question. I want to ask this question about finances, but maybe how soon is too soon? And I think, Reggie, you make a great point. I don't know, Murph, how you feel, Fred, how you feel, but I don't think it's too soon to ask those questions early on, right? Because the thing is, ladies, why waste your time with someone who, after 15 dates, when you finally ask the question, you wasted all your time.
So now,
right?
But even also after the first date, you may not get to a second date. So I would say maybe save some of those questions for like maybe a second or third, because the first day is just really trying to feel each other out.
Absolutely.
And if you're and even with his comment with, ladies asking, what do you like? Some people ask those questions so they can try to paint themselves in that picture to get what they want.
Oh, wow.
So now, now I know that for me. Okay. So now, as far as with some conversation, whenever you're on a first date, so tell me about yourself, because I need for you to be able to articulate about yourself. I need for you to be able to tell me about you. And then, right, once you get past it, so tell me about yourself, so tell me about your family, because I need to know your family dynamic. Do you have a relationship with your family? Where do you fit within your family structure? And then so tell me about your friends, because I've had the same best friend since I was 16. So I know how to be a friend. There are some people where they don't have long-term relationships, and even within that family structure, that family dynamic, if you don't get along with your family, that says something about you. if you can't keep a long-term set of friends, that says something about you. And then if you can articulate who and what you are, then that says something about you. Now, those are very specific questions that will get a person to tell you exactly who and what they are, that are not true intrusive, but it gives enough leeway for a person to be able to answer a question, so that then maybe on that second date, if you need to ask some follow-up questions, then you can go from there. I'll turn it back over to you, to Mr. Murphy, because I knew that you was getting ready to say something, sir. Okay.
No. I was thinking. I wrote down Jason, look, I start writing down things now. Y'all got this is.
Hey, no, we following Dr. Staples because that brother been taking notes since episode 1.
You know what I mean?
So now he got me taking notes. Now he got you taking notes.
I'm growing as a person because of this discussion. But
taking notes.
But I've always said that one of the things that for when you talk about dating, and we're talking about the first date, right? I think the one thing that I found, and just in my own marriage, I'll just say this: like, can I kick it with you? Like, and what I mean by kick it with you is, can I let my guard down and really relax with you and know that you ain't gonna like do something crazy or whatever? Because I think anything else a lot of times comes off as an interrogation or an investigation, and I don't know if interrogations and investigations are fun. I ain't never been in that. I don't think they sound fun. But what does sound fun is, can I eat with you and you got something on your face and then you find out and you lick it off and I'm like, girl, you are tripping. And then I have something on mine or whatever and we just have a great time. And it's like a Seinfeld episode. Like, we ain't talking about nothing, but we are enjoying ourselves. Because I know in the long term, I got to have a friend. I got to have a friend. Mm-hmm. So I think those other questions come as I am vulnerable, because that moment that I can't be vulnerable, I realize like, oh, you just did something that's a chess move you just did. Once that happens, then the intimacy stops. And then those other questions, we ain't even get there because you tripping. And I know it. And if I say, Kimberly, what you just did, can I ask you what the intention of that was? And if you get defensive, then I already know I can't talk to Kimberly. I feel game afoot. Game is afoot. And I can't be that person.
Can I say?
Fred been dying. Go ahead, Fred.
No. This is very good. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot of mistakes I made along the way. But listen, can I say, you don't have to ask a lot of questions to find out who somebody is.
Yeah.
One of you ladies, I think it might have been Candace, talked about work ethic. We mentioned work ethic in an episode previously. Yeah. What we're trying to find out is the character of the young man, old man, middle-aged man, whoever it is that you're dating. And that can be determined without grilling him or, turning the light around at the table or, lighting a candle and holding it at his face at a table for two and asking him a bunch of probative questions. You can simply pay attention to how he treats you at the dinner table. Mm-hmm. If your food is not there yet, does he stand up when you come back from the table? Does he, does he help you out of the car? Does he close the door for you? How does he treat the waiters? How does he treat the wait staff?
Yes.
Is he rude? Is he obnoxious? Is he demanding?
How does he treat the waiters? Yeah.
How does he treat the waiters? Another thing, I talked about the insidious red flags, those covert red flags, the things that are harder to see. Does he just talk about himself? Now, we talked about allowing a gentleman to talk about himself so that you can find out more about him. But does he ever shut up? Does he just talk about himself? Mm-hmm. Period. Does he ever ask you anything about you? Does he show any interest in you, in your interest? Does he want to know anything about you? One of the most insidious things that I have found in dealing with men,
that's Fred's new word, insidious,
and noticing men and their behaviors toward women is, how do you determine whether or not a man really likes women? And I don't mean sexually. I mean, I know a lot of guys that are married with kids that hate women.
Wow.
How do you determine whether or not they hate women? And how do you determine whether or not, when a man wants to spend all of his time with you, what in the absolute hell does that mean? What man spends all of his absolute time with you? Not that he doesn't love and care about you or desire to be with you, but who doesn't have something else to do or another interest? What about the man who cares so much about you that he wants to make you better?
You go on ahead, Brett.
Who is that man?
Fred, do you know
What does that mean to you?
Fred, crush it.
Going
well, now you recognize that he loves me so much, girl. He's trying to make me better. He want me to get a better job. He want me to keep my hair done. He want me to keep my toenails done, my nails, yada yada yada. What about that guy? How do you decide what that means and what it's supposed to mean to you? Or does it mean more to him than it should to you?
You a trophy.
That's a red flag because that person is being controlling. And when they are always trying to track you down, they're always texting you, "Oh, where are you?" And you know, when you get your nails done, you get your hair done, they're just controlling that. Those are red flags to see that that person is going to try to isolate you and keep you from your family and friends. Want you to be with them all the time. You have to be able to see, no. I have another life. I had a life.
Yes.
After you, I will have one with you, but not 100%. You don't want to be with a person 100% time with, like Brett said, no other. No.
Wow.
But here's another question.
She was talking about my ex-husband.
But here's another question too. We have to ask
Candace, and then Kim.
People who have children. How is your relationship with their mom? Because or how are your relationships with those kids? Because if you so the person I was seeing, they would post on social media their kids every week saying they're this great parents. But when you're in it, you see that they don't talk to the kids, or maybe once a week or once a month. They don't go travel to see those kids. They always complain and say, well, when I go see the kids, the moms, they don't help me get there or help me pay for a hotel room. You have to ask questions. Or if you, again, I like to listen. And this person kept saying, oh, but when my back child support is finished, the mom's going to take me off of child support. But the little girl is 11 years old. You don't want to take care of her. You're not there.
Good.
So complaining about things like that, you really have to ask questions about how are your relationship with your kids and their mom. If there's always drama, you don't want to be involved in that.
Yeah, that's a good point about blended families. Candace, I'm glad you brought that up. Brenda, have you been married before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, Candace, you've been married before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so Kimberly, Candace, Brenda, you've all been married before, and the reason I raise this point because I think that Candace makes a great assertion when she says that you have to know about families, because if you've been married before and then are dating and then decide to get married again, you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s, more than likely children exist. Gone are the days where you can marry, divorce, and then date again and then no child exists. Those days are gone. And so I think it's very important, to Candace's point about blended families. Have you had that conversation about what it's like? What will it be like to bring both families together? And then is there drama between the baby father on the other side and the baby mama on the other side? Right? I'm wondering, ladies, is that a red flag? Brenda, Candace, and Kimberly, was that red flags for you if your person that you were dating, you couldn't really deal with the baby moms?
Yes, because here's the thing. I don't bring that to any relationship. My relationship with my daughter's dad is perfect. When we divorced and she was old enough, I gave her a cell phone. So that way he always had a direct line of communication to her. So he would never have to go through me and say, oh, you're never around. You're keeping me from my child. Well, no, now you have a direct number. Now you can call and text her as much as you want. When those times came for vacations and her to see him, when are you coming? Come get your child. Because you're not going to go and talk about me and say, well, I haven't seen my child in months. No, you pay for her ticket to, for her to see you. So for me, if I'm not bringing that to you, I don't want to be a part of that. So there were instances where, the other moms tried to wiggle their way to my Facebook through other people. And I'm not a part of that. So I had to just shut that down. No, if I'm not bringing this to you, don't bring it to me. Whatever you have going on with that person, that's between you. And if that's an issue, we're going to have to end this relationship.
Red flag. Okay. Kimberly, Brenda, thoughts on that same question, dealing with blended families and having to deal with the potential drama of the other person's ex-spouse.
So now I know now for me and with my first marriage, actually, the immediate deterioration of our relationship was the fact that he did have 2 twin sons that he didn't really have a relationship with. And I was actively trying to help to forge a relationship with them. I mean, even to the point where I was sending text messages from his phone to his kids, which of course, because he had no relationship with them. And that should have been a red flag from the beginning. But the immediate deterioration was when I found out he had a whole nother kid that was older than his 2 twin boys that he paid child support for 18 years. And he had absolutely no relationship with, DNA test done. And I was like, how can you as a man have a child in this world and not care if the child is loved, care if the child is cared for, care if the child is safe, if it's hungry? Like, so what if you pay child support? Like, there's so much more to the support of a child. And that immediately, in that one moment, that completely changed the way I looked at him, unfortunately, because I love children, even though I don't have any. And so now with this husband here, to where now he loves his son, like to where, it's like he literally built his business just simply to leave a legacy, to his child because, because his dad died whenever he was 12. And so therefore that immediately let me know that he was the type of man that I can see myself with. And then now, but unfortunately with his, like I said, I'm his 3rd wife, but his 2 previous wives, they never ever even met each other. And I was like, how can you be with a woman for 17 years and you have a child with your first wife and their paths never ever even crossed? And and so then I let him know up front, like, that absolutely will not happen. In this relationship, not only will I have a relationship with your son from your first marriage, I'll have a relationship with your with your stepson from that relationship. And then even with his step grandson, like, that's my grandson, because I don't have a family, like we're in my family, we don't do step and half or any of that. Family is family. Family is who you choose to love. And so even though the first wife, she didn't want to meet me the same way that she didn't want to meet the second wife, but I made him introduce me to her because I needed for her to know exactly who I am so that she knows, so that I could be a reality, in her mind, so that she would know exactly who I am, so that she can acknowledge my presence. Because, it's like where a person only has the power over your relationship that you give them. And I could not give her any power, any authority to dictate anything in my marriage or in my relationship. So it's all in the position and the stance that you take. And then even though now, she and I, to where, we can exchange pleasantries. She'll never like me. I'll never like her, but we don't have to. I can love her from a distance. But it really is all about making sure that exactly who and what I am and the position that I take within this marriage and in this family dynamic. And so, to where but of course, that's just me, because I needed to make sure that she knew exactly who I was, and the fact that she would not have the ability to tiptoe through my relationship the way that she tiptoed through his previous relationship, like where you can't live on the outskirts of my marriage. But anyway, I'll turn it back.
Yeah, did you say your letter went from 2 pages to 7 or 17?
Hold on, Fred.
I'm sorry, say that again.
We're about 15 minutes. Hold on, 15 minutes until we wrap up. I'll just do something really quick. Ladies, you've all shared from your hearts and have been very transparent. We do appreciate your narrative, because it is your narrative that helps us to learn more as men, and then pass on your thoughts and concerns and victories and achievements to other men that we know. What I'd like to do now, though, is really quickly, Reggie, have some comments, then Fred, Murph, and then Dr. Staples in the last 15 minutes that we have.
Just comments about it overall?
Yeah. I feel like the ladies dropped a lot of gems. So if there's any one thing, 2 things, 3 things that stands out, just comment.
I was definitely blown away by Kimberly's last comment, and just making sure that her presence was going to be felt in both of those previous with both of the previous wives. She just made a stance for that, and I definitely want to acknowledge you for for not wavering on that. And also just your stance of like, yo, we're all family. We're going to make this work. We're all going to know each other. Even if we don't like each other, there's going to be a mutual respect. So I just love that stance, because that's what leads to longevity, and that's what leads to like true communication. So I just acknowledge you for that. And I'm pretty sure that comes from, like you said, those previous experiences. So I also acknowledge you from learning from your mistakes and saying like, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm learning my lessons and I'm growing. So that's really powerful. So thank you for sharing all of that, Kimberly.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Fred, Murph, then Dr. Staples.
My impressions are very similar. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for gracing us with your presence and your intelligence, particularly, and sharing so honestly and transparently with us. It's clear that you've learned so much from your experiences. I was joking with you, Kimberly. I was asking you if your first letter went from 2 pages to 7 or 17 because of what you seem to have learned. And I can only imagine, Candace, you remarried?
No, I'm single right now.
Okay, single. And Brenda, I know, is single. She's a family friend, and we met through church. But one thing that I know is this. I can only imagine, and I would actually look forward to meeting Mr. McMorris or Kimberly's husband. Because he has to be a real man. She would have no less, clearly. And Candace, based on what you've learned, and Brenda, the same. And I hope that the ladies who have watched the show tonight would take you at heart. You know, all the things that you said are from the heart. And as a man, I mean, I feel accountable for what you said. One thing about this series is that it has made me take a serious look at myself. You know, the light of introspection, it can be very glaring and convicting. And when you hear women share so openly and honestly the way you have, is that hubby? When you share so, how you doing, sir? When you share so openly and honestly, the least I think we can do as men.
Good to see you, sir. I know you're your wife's number one cheerleader. Good to have you on the show, brother.
And I think I can speak for all of us. And we tend to sort of rewatch these shows and critique the show and see how we can improve it. But what we all have said to each other in text messages and on the phone is that we have been held accountable by the ladies that we've had on the show, and you guys are no different. It's made me look at myself and ask myself to try to recall the questions that my wife might have had. I would have shared if I had been asked a question such as the one that Candace mentioned and Brenda mentioned. My wife and I have been married 33 years and been together for 37. So we kind of grew up together. I didn't get a question at dinner about what my plans were. We shared our plans together, and our plans were to have this, you know, Huxtable-like existence with children. And we have spent our lives trying to realize that. And thank God, praise God, we have been, you know, through his grace, have been fortunate enough to sort of experience a lot of those familial blessings. But listening to you guys talk makes me want to be a better man, makes me want to be a better husband, makes me want to be more thoughtful, more goal-oriented, more directed, you know, just to fill in the gaps that you guys have experienced in your lives. I want to be sure that I'm doing a good job, and I appreciate you for everything that you've shared tonight.
Hey, Fred, I appreciate that, man. And I concur, man. Being a better man. I mean, the women that come on the show, I mean, when they talk, it's almost like this I got your attention, right? I got your attention. And now the words that I've shared with you, I'm holding you accountable, right? I have felt that sense of accountability from every woman that we brought on the show. So Kimberly, Candace, Brenda, y'all just continue to add to that. Murph, and then Dr. Staples.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm going to reiterate pretty much what everyone else has already said. I think that for the listeners that are listening to you guys talk, I think one of the things that I got out of, and I hope the listeners are getting out of this, is that through trial and error, there's never really error. There's only an opportunity to learn, and really what you're learning is who I am, who you are. So that, there's that exploration of self, where you start to really understand that your locus of who controls you is you. And I really hear that from you guys tonight, that what you found through these experiences and relationships was how beautiful you were and how worthy you were, not from a hardened position, but from a position of beauty. So I just appreciate being a part of this. Also, hearing you guys talk about this journey to rediscover your own beauty, and so I appreciate that. And I'm not talking about. I mean, y'all pretty. I mean, you know, what I'm saying, y'all are beautiful women, but I'm talking about something much different. I'm talking about something different. Because when you realize that, you attract what you want.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? When it's Maybelline, you gonna get a Maybelline dude. Like, oh yeah, he's great, but he played my mean Madden game. You know what I mean? Right. I gotta stop hating on Madden, right? I gotta stop hating.
Hey Murph, before we get out of this series, probably after we finish with Unequally Yoked, I want you to put together a piece on law of attraction. I think what you just said is so true. I think as Kimberly has attracted in her 17-page letter, because Aaliyah, you know, God rest her soul, she only had a 2-page letter, right? But in Kimberly's 17-page letter, oh, I'm sorry, thank you, Candace, 4-page letter.
It was 7. It was 7. It was 7.
It wasn't 17.
But I think that you are who you attracted, and Murph as our therapist, and I think that you can really speak to how women are attracting and drawing in the man that either they want or the man they don't want, right? And so let's do that after we talk about Unequally Yoked. But Reverend Dr. Staples, man, great to have you back, brother. Good to see you again. Share your thoughts, man. You know, the ladies really dropped some gems tonight, shared their hearts, and I'm just curious about, you know, what you took away.
Well, I'm not going to say too much of anything, really, because I jumped on a little bit late, been a stressful, crazy day, and about to lose my voice right now. But one of the things that I really picked up on, you know, from ladies tonight was your confidence and what you really want. You guys taught me something and made me reflect back to something that really irritated me when I first started dating my wife and all of that. One of the things that really that I hated was, don't ask me the same question over and over again. It irritated my soul. Don't ask me the same question. But tonight, you have challenged my patience. You challenged my patience to make me better in the long run, because now I can now tolerate the same question over and over again. Because for a long time, because the same question over and over and over and over and over again, as Murph alluded to earlier, is being in up under the light in interrogation, and I hadn't always been a preacher pastor, so I sat in the room and was interrogated for hours and hours and hours, and the same question kept coming back over. Did you do it? Did you know anybody who do it? You can, you know, all of those same things would often be very irritating. But as I grew, and, you know, I've been growing, you guys have challenged me to work on me, make me better in my area of patience. Now, if you ask me the same question now, I'm gonna ask you, well, what's the real answer you want? Obviously, you did not accept my first name.
Exactly.
You know,
we're good. So.
Yeah.
You know,
hey, Kimberly, really quick, Kimberly, would you mind sliding your Would you mind sliding your husband really quickly, because Reverend Dr. Staples usually and always when he's on does our close out our benediction. But would you mind just having your husband say just a few words tonight, just really about you know, what he saw in you to make him pursue you? Because what we talked about today was how women can avoid the red flags that men oftentimes, as Murph mentioned, is game. But your husband saw something in you to make him pursue you, right? And I want him to share that, because there's ladies who are listening tonight that you may say, well, he ain't pursuing me like that, so maybe he ain't the one. So I'm curious, sir. Come on the mic, man. Talk to us. What did you see in your wife that made you pursue her?
Wow, well, that's a deep question, man. I appreciate the question, and thank you, brothers. I came in late in the game here, so look, I don't know what she said about me when I got here, but look, I looked at her as a team player, man. She says, look, I've been around. I'm 64 years old right now. Of course, if you guys don't know, it's my third time around here, so they say the third time is a charm. I always look for someone that's going to be on the same page that I'm on. I've been married to two other women prior to this. You got women going in two separate directions. I was looking for a woman to go in the same direction I was headed in. I was looking for someone that had that camaraderie, that understood what I was all about, and not only that, but appreciate what I was all about. Not take it as so, he's an insurance agent, he's an insurance professional. I'm doing this, and there was an unbalance of respect on your career challenge, on your career goals. So as long as we have respect for each other, and that was important to me as an individual, and starting from the bottom up. I came from the bottom. I didn't start at the top now. So you got to understand, I had to do a little grinding. And some women don't respect the idea that you have to grind to get where you need to be. I saw a vision, and I saw the forest before the trees, but your mate might not see what you see. Wow. But she saw what I saw, and she was able to come in and bring all this together. With her experience, like I told her, I said, look, you have everything I need, but I just can't afford you, babe. I can't afford to pay you. I would love to bring you on my staff, but I just can't afford you. Now, you have everything I need. Now, but I just can't afford to bring you on my team. Now, when she first met me, I was the only guy in the room that was verbal and was able to let folks understand. I was the only black guy in the room, put it this way. In my association, I was in part of the National Association of Health Underwriters. So I would come to the meetings, but I would never see anybody look like me. Although I made as much money or more than everybody in that meeting, but I didn't let them know that. But when the Affordable Care Act came into play, that put me at an advantage because I wasn't much in the health game too much, on the individual or group health game too much. But I knew that when that ACA came into play, that put me back on the starting line again, which means that it's just like running track. Everybody started on the same. Everybody started when they shoot that pistol. We all start out together. So then the fact that I didn't start out early enough to be ahead of the game, but when that came and everything came back and everybody had to start all over again, I was ready and right in a good position. So. Bring her skills. Of course, she was with Blue Cross and Blue Shield at the time.
I was sponsoring the meeting that he's talking about. So I was a pretty girl at the front of the room.
Yeah, she was a pretty girl at the front of the room. And I said, well, wow, we got a black girl here, sponsoring the meeting. I said, okay, we're good. Let me have a conversation with her, man. So we had a conversation, and it was just a good conversation. I love the energy that she brought, So and she's an excellent team player, man. Find a woman that's heading in the same direction, because once we flow together, that create greatness. And this is what I have here. This is my last ride, baby. This is it. If this don't work, this is it.
I see what he's doing next Tuesday.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, man. And I will say, as you have said, that Kimberly's a team player, which is super important for a man like you, of your stature, who is a businessman. I will also say, though, about Kimberly, because I've had a chance to work with her in business. Her work ethic is unparalleled.
No doubt.
Right. And so I say that because, brother, you also have a great skill in that you're not jealous of her success.
Mm-hmm.
I need brothers to hear that. Yeah. I need brothers to hear you can't pray for a strong woman with a strong work ethic, but be jealous of their success. Because Kimberly, as I work with you over the last couple of months, I've not seen a black woman as successful as you, but you've got a strong husband who is not afraid of your success. And that's a great team right there. Great team. Okay, Dr. Staples, man, before you close out, I just want to give Brenda and Candace an opportunity to kind of share some final thoughts, and then Reverend Dr. Staples, man, close us out as you do, man, in your own fashion.
Well, good. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to say one more thing. This time around, it'll be my second relationship, second marriage. I am going to get some from some trusted male friends about my partner. I want some other opinions. When I was younger, I didn't care what people thought about my maid. That was my man. You're not going to tell me what to do. I don't care if you like him. Don't. This time I care.
Yep.
This time I want somebody to see him in a different light than for me, a male, to be able to, weed out some things that maybe I'm not really looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And looking from a male eye. That's going to be the difference for me this time.
I was going to ask you guys that question, how much it mattered to you. I wondered if it mattered to you what your family, what your friends, what people who you valued, who you trusted, thought about the gentleman that you might be dating. I'm curious.
I would say if I would have brought that last gentleman around my male friends, they would have shut it down immediately. They would have shut it down.
Yeah.
They would have shut it down.
Wow. And if I could say something, I mean, definitely to both Brenda and Candace, and then the ladies listening, whenever you talk about that 80-20 rule, that 80-20 rule is so relevant. And then, right, and it's not even so much of the 80% that you want. It really is about that 20% that you are not. And literally finding someone who can love you enough to live without that 20% that you are not. And because, it's like we all want, the 80%, but I can say that in this relationship, I made sure that he knew exactly who and what I was, because, I'm grown. You can't raise me. You can't change me. Like, I am who I am. And then because it's like what you go into the relationship doing, who you present yourself to be, you need to be with somebody who can love you for authentically you, not for who it is that they hope, dream, and maybe one day perceive you to be. And that's the mistake that most people make, is that can they love you for exactly who you are, exactly where you are at. And again, like I said, where if you can find somebody that's 80% of all the things that you hope, want, dream of, and desire, that 20% that they are not, make sure that is a 20% that you can live without. That's the key.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
okay.
Good.
I would say
not the Instagram you, the real you.
That's good.
I would say
Candace, final thoughts.
My final thought is for the women who are out there, when God show you those red flags, please pay attention and do not justify and say, oh, well, beneath it all, he's a nice person or he'll change. See those flags for what they are and exit left immediately before you get any deeper. Because if you don't take heed to those flags that God is showing you, he's going to show it to you in another way that you're not going to like.
Absolutely.
So you need to pay attention, put your goggles on, see those flags for what they are, and exit left.
Yeah, like Maya Angelou said, when a person shows you themselves, believe them the first time.
Absolutely.
Because I always tell people, I don't do 3 chances. I give you 2. The first time, okay, but the second time you show me who you truly are, there's no third time. Because I'm not going to make myself look stupid 3 times.
That's on you. Yeah.
That's on you, Candace Walker, Brenda Stevens, Kimberly McMorris. It has been a pleasure to have the 3 of you on our show tonight. The topic, Am I Worthy of Her Submission, discussing red flags. We hope the 3 of you decide to tune in next week as we discuss the topic, Unequally Yoked, which I'm sure Reverend Dr. Staples is probably going to really help us unpack as men. And the following week after that, we'll have some more ladies on to talk about that same topic. Reverend Dr. Walter Lamar Staples, brother, go ahead and close us out, man.
Thank all of you. Everybody that's been on tonight has truly been a blessing to me, just for the little quick short time that I had a chance to jump on. But if I can if I can say anything, I just want to echo one thing. Do not avoid the red flags. Don't avoid red flags. Let me see if I can make this make sense. And this goes for male and female, and everybody that's listening. There's sometimes a thing called the illusion of fruit. It's called an illusion of fruit, an illusion of success, an illusion of being able to reproduce and being productive. There's a story, if I can just drop this on you real quick, over in the Bible. It talks about how Jesus walked up to the fig tree, and the fig tree looked from a distance as if it was full of figs, but it was just full of leaves. If I can just drop this real quick. Some stuff is just full of fluff. There is no substance to it. Don't ignore the red flags when you see it, because often you eat the fluff before you see the fruit.
Hey, Doc. Hey, you might need to preach that on Sunday. I know it's Easter Sunday coming up, right?
Probably has.
You might need to preach that right there, brother. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you dropped the nugget there, brother.
Yeah,
You probably got the whole sermon right in front of him.
it looks good from a distance.
We got more time.
You know, it's the thing that it was called to be, the thing that it was called to produce is not there the closer you get to it.
I'm using that in the calendar.
It's a moment to move away the leaves.
Next week, that will be an account succession. I'm using.
Bro, but we seriously do have to talk about, how do you see the forest for the trees? We keep, ultimately, we always get back around to the fact that the lens from which we view people and their attributes is clouded by our own pride, our own emotional struggles, our own baggage, our own drama, our own psychological wounds, our own scars. So that makes it difficult to really objectively assess people for what they are. And then what do you forgive? What do you allow people to struggle with? You know, what do you know, the whole 80-20 rule, we certainly you don't want to raise boys into men, try to do that. You don't want to try to change people. Who are we to decide who someone should ultimately be? I'm not God. I'm not perfect myself. I'm still struggling with my own insecurities and whatever I might have to deal with personally. There's a lot we have to deal with before we claim to be able to really judge someone objectively. We still are called to do it before you settle down with someone and try to spend the rest of your life, you know, with them. But how do we weed out our own problems and insecurities and still fairly judge someone else?
Yeah, that's good.
But you ain't gonna go over my clothes no more. We ain't gonna do that no more. That's all I'm saying. We ain't gonna do that no more, Fred. All right. It's like
I did, didn't I? I did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Fred be itching, man.
Fred, you mentioned how do we put ourselves to the side to judge others or see them for who they are, but that comes with kind of getting to know yourself and healing from your past to be able to move forward to your future.
Absolutely, but that is
you can't move.
I don't like the end.
I mean, what you just said is so true, because as I said, I did marriage counseling prior to my first marriage, right? But before we got divorced, right, where we did marriage counseling, I still decided to divorce him, but we did marriage counseling because I needed to make sure that I was making a rational decision, not an emotional decision. But even after I decided that I was going to get divorced, I still kept going to the marriage counselor because I needed to see how, number one, how did I allow myself to end up in this position? And then also to, you know, get the tools to make sure that I didn't make the same mistake. Because again, sometimes you have to look introspectively. And because of what I learned in my marriage counseling session, even after I decided to get divorced, are all the tools that I brought into this marriage that I apply today. So again, you heard me say that I went to marriage counseling twice. And then I continued to go to counseling because You know, I mean, you just don't know what you don't know. And then sometimes you need to you need to go to somebody for you to gain understanding as to exactly who and what you are, and then to make sure that you don't repeat the same mistakes. Because if you keep making the same mistake over and over again, you know, that's the very definition of insanity. Crazy. So sometimes you have to look introspectively at yourself to see exactly who and what you are and the value system that you bring. Because again, you know, like I'm 53 and I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. But again, that's because he doesn't try to change me. I don't try to change him. I can be, I am very, very happy with me. And he's very, very happy with him. And so the question is that can two people really come together and be happy, healthy, and whole together? Because you can't have one be broken and one be happy. That don't work.
That's right.
So you have to fix the broken pieces of you so that this way, so that you can be exactly who it is, who you need to be for that mate. So I'll turn it back over. I know I've been talking quite a bit, but I just thought that was
who you want to, and for also who you want
to started.
So look, we had the benediction by Reverend Dr. Lamar Stables, but look, what followed that was the praise break. I mean, there was a praise break after you dropped the mic, Lamar, walked to the back, got dressed to go home. The church was still on fire. They still talking.
Sorry.
It's all right. I love it. I love it. It's good stuff.
It too, man. It's great. I love the intensity, the passion. Kimberly, Candace, Brenda. I mean, you guys. They say every round goes higher and higher, and we just came off last week. Thought it was super high. Y'all took it up another notch. I'm actually a little nervous for next week when we get into Unequally Yoked. It'll just be us men talking about it, but really helping to define what that means. And then bringing women back in the week after next, April 13th to be exact. Invite your friends, please, ladies, because I think it's finally time that we talk about what that means. Reverend Dr. Lamar Stables does a phenomenal job as a pastor of a mega church to come on the show each week and talk about issues the church doesn't talk about. The church doesn't talk about these issues, and he's placing himself in a very precarious position because he's going against what tradition says, but he's doing what he knows is right, and that's to talk about the issues that are affecting our community year after year after year, right? So next week when we talk about what it means to be unequally yoked, make sure y'all tune in. We're going to be, really dropping a lot of new insight. But thank you, Candace, again, Kimberly, Brenda, for being on the show tonight, fellas. Hey. They're holding us accountable, man. I can't say nothing else other than they keep it real. We know what we have to do in our own relationships, and as we mentor other young men, the messages that we also have to pass on. So, hey, you guys can watch this, rewatch it all week. We're on 3 different broadcasts, 2 different Facebook pages, a YouTube page, averaging about 1,500 views a week. Thank you for y'all's commitment tonight. If you need the download and the replay, Brenda, Kimberly, or Candace, let me know, and I'll shoot it to you by email. Yep. But it's been real. Thank you for y'all sharing your heart. Looking forward to next week. Y'all be blessed.
Thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed meeting you all. Thank you.
Feelings mutual. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
Bye, Brenda. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.
Bye.
Peace.
All right, good night. All right.
Take care. Guys.